go.
Now everybody knows that I love to drink. This one right here is hard to drink because it's so many licorice. He put awesomeness in here. It's called the 7 C's. It's not even on the menu. It's a secret drink. And now him and I are friends, and he's gonna come and hang out with us tonight, maybe. Hey, let's go.
What's up, everybody? It's Neverland Nate coming to you live from Neverland Nate's enchanted bedroom, and that's Rocky. Sean, how are you?
What's going on, Nate? I'm coming live from Indiana Jones.
Temple is that what you watched today?
I am.
I saw today that Harrison Ford and
is he getting frantic?
What's that?
Is Harrison Ford getting frantic?
I think so.
Okay.
Yep. But he actually was reunited with his little counterpart, the little boy who said Dr. Jones after 38 years. So I thought that was pretty cool. Yep. Him right there. You go.
Right there.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Quick shout out to Scotty's Vodka and Grant and Patton Cigars, as well as SD Transport and Magical Vacation Planner by Nate Aiello. Hi, how's it going? So we had a bunch of talk about, and then more stuff happened today. Obviously.
Like everything happened. Like Disney happened today. All of Disney.
So for those of you who have been following D23, all of the park announcements were made today, and it's ridiculous how much they're doing. For one, they're bringing back my favorite song, "Happily Ever After," to the Magic Kingdom, which is going to be fantastic because it's one of the only
amazing. I hope the show is similar to the old show, because they did say they're bringing the song back to a new nighttime show.
Right.
So I have a feeling it's going to be a combination of both shows with the Happily Ever After song, which I'm okay with, because I bet people couldn't even tell you what the actual show was even about. It was more of the song that they cared about.
Right. Personally, I liked the show more than any of the other shows that they did because they put so many of the movies on the castle. I mean, they had like movies spanning back forever.
Right.
They,
I think that's definitely, I mean, it's basically a giant commercial for Disney movies. So I think that's staying for sure. I have a feeling they're going to add some projections onto Main Street like they did for this current one.
They need to. They've been putting up, facades in front and like working on all the buildings up and down Main Street. So hopefully this
I'm okay. So I've never seen the 50th nighttime show at Magic Kingdom, so I don't know for sure, but the way they described it originally, I thought like the whole Main Street was gonna be like all iridescent and like just amazing. And from what I've seen, it's not even remotely close.
Well, that's how Disneyland does it. They project down their Main Street, down the entire thing. There's projections all over the buildings and stuff like that. So what's up, Pat?
What's going on, Pat?
Yeah, D23. It's free to sign up too. So if you go to D23's website, it's free to join.
Yeah.
And then you'll get all the.
Keep in mind too, like a lot of stuff we talk about, even though Disney is showing concept art for certain things and stuff, until they have an official like, hey, we are doing this. Right. Everything's subject to change. There's been so many things that have been reported and concept art released only for it to fall on the wayside and never happen.
Yep.
So I mean, if everything comes to fruition, what they claim, it's going to be amazing. Like Disney is going to be #1 again. Yeah. I think, and honestly, I think Universal Epic Universe has a lot to do with what Disney's doing.
They don't have a choice. They're gonna if they do nothing, they're going to get buried.
Right, and they are. Like this whole annual pass holder fiasco, like caused a lot of people to leave in pretty big numbers. They left Disney and they're heading over to Universal, and Universal and even SeaWorld, they treat their pass holders like royalty. Right. Disney, not so much. Disney, you're just a number to them, and not even a good number. You're undesirable number to them. So.
And I mean, they've even gone as far as to say like they don't really like their pass holders.
Right.
Which is kind of discerning because the perks that you get, I think like what is it right? Next week they're doing 30% off.
Yeah.
For pass holders. So
which at Universal, that's your normal percentage. Like it's
it's more. No, yeah, Universal.
Universal's 30, and I think SeaWorld like depends on when you bought your pass to be either 40 or 50%.
Right.
So
one of the other cool things that they did mention. And again, this is all, it's not, I wouldn't say it's speculation. There's things that they have announced.
Yes.
but they're redoing Dino Land over in Animal Kingdom, which right now
Yeah.
is a barren parking lot with like 5 amusement park games. You know what I mean? Shoot the water in the clown's mouth, smack the gopher, and silly things like that. And then they have that one spin ride. And then
Ray's really good at smack the gopher, but she uses her face when she falls. Winner.
The ground is her gopher.
And she wins every time.
Yeah, right. So what we heard is that they're talking about theming it both Zootopia and Moana. I'm not sure
I
if
don't
both.
see how that's even possible, though. That's 2 totally different concepts.
Right.
Like, how do you merge those into one?
Right.
Like, it's a lot of property over there, but it's not that much space to have 2 iconic movies like those combined.
Right. Well, one of the animatronics they showed from Zootopia, the big cat cop. I mean, ridiculous. I just saw the clip of it a few minutes ago. It was like he talks and moves like a human would do. You know what I mean? It's not just a.
I hope they have a restaurant with the sloths working as the checkouts, and they go extremely slow just to piss everyone off. And it takes you like an hour to order.
The line will be back to where you get into Animal Kingdom. It'll stretch all the way through past the tree. Yeah, exactly.
That would be good. Good times.
Let's see, what else were they talking about? I mean, there was so many releases. There's
just a ton. A huge one, Magic Kingdom. They may literally rip out a whole section of the park and redo they're redoing Splash Mountain in 2024. I think they finally announced when it's going to be in 2024. So that's going to be
Tron will be launching
spring of next year.
In spring of next year. Yep.
So 2024, the Princess and the Frog, Tiana's going to get her own overdue on Splash Mountain. So the whole Frontierland concept, I just don't see how that's going to live, because all you have is Thunder Mountain. That's it now. So, and the whole Rivers of America and Tom Sawyer Island potentially could get completely wiped out and gone. Yeah. And in its place, they have 3 amazing concepts released. Do you remember what they are? Coco, yep. Coco, Encanto. And Encanto. And the most anticipated thing that people have been asking for like 1800 years.
Villains.
The Villains.
Yeah.
Villains Land.
Yep.
I mean, I still think it needs its own park, but a Villains Land would be a good step.
And I think that was one of the hype things that everybody was waiting for at D23 this year, was that they were going to announce a new park, and they didn't, which, okay, that's fine. Undertaking a whole new park is a big step,
Right.
Universal's doing Epic Universe, but that's going to be its own park. You know what I mean? Like it's not going to be attached to any parks. It's going to be a separate thing, and it's going to be closer to like Endless Summer and stuff like that.
Which I think, that still works out. I mean, theoretically, none of Disney's parks are attached. They're all spread out pretty far away from each other. They just own all the land in between them, where Universal doesn't.
Yeah, and being in Magic Kingdom, I'll just take that for example, because that seems to be the one where it's the most sheltered area, where it's just you're in the theme park and everything that you experience there is part of the show or part of the park, where you're not seeing you don't see anything outside of it. Well, let me tell you what's outside of that. Behind Thunder Mountain is a warehouse, okay, and then between Thunder Mountain and the river for Tom Sawyer for the boat is just trees.
Yep.
That's all it is. You can see glimpses of Thunder Mountain when you're on the riverboat, but there's so much land that goes off kind of like in a big V this way. It's going to be crazy if they can incorporate all that.
The one thing that always amazes me, which people probably don't realize this, unless you live in Florida, but where the whole circus area is by like Dumbo over there, and they have a big circus tent with, I think it's like a mini snack area / they used to have some souvenirs in there, like the Big Top Circus thing. But literally right behind there is a road that I take to go home. Like I see the back end of that circus tent going home when I drive home from Disney. It's like so weird to me to think that like right there is Magic Kingdom.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy, and all the buildings are behind the castle. like all where like the workers are, and their warehouses are back there as well, and they're huge. If you've ever been around the property,
Yep.
the warehouses that Disney have, I mean, it's like if you could think about Walmart, it's like 8 Walmarts. Like that's how
It really is.
much they have.
They have one warehouse. Literally, it's called the Holiday House, and it's a huge warehouse, and it's just Christmas, Christmas trees, Christmas decorations.
Yep.
I mean, if you think about it, they do all the decorations and stuff for the entire every hotel, every theme park, everything. So not just Magic Kingdom. So.
And again, the transformation between Halloween and Christmas is one night. Okay, so as soon as the park closes, Oompa Loompas come out of nowhere with golf carts, and they just drive around and take down all the pumpkins and all that stuff. And there's guys with ladders, and they're putting up trees, and they're putting up all decorations. So they turn that place over so quick, and it's because they have all of that, all that warehouse stuff. But they just have trucks waiting to come in the back gate at Magic Kingdom and just kind of like dump it all off so that they can get moving. One of the other announcements today is that Disney is getting a new cruise ship. So it's going to be sailing in 2024.
I thought they're getting 2 new ones, weren't they?
There's actually going to be 3, but we were only going to talk about the one that they said today.
Okay. There's 18 million.
Yeah, there's actually going to be 3 more cruise ships, but they're probably going to be staggered a couple years apart.
Oh, right.
2024 is going to be the next sailing, and it's the Disney Treasure, just like Pat just said. Lisa said, Sean, is that the ones we passed?
Yes.
Yep. Okay.
Yep.
Let's see. There's a lot of stuff also going on at Disneyland where I guess Tiana's getting her own eatery or her own restaurant, a themed restaurant out of Tiana. So that's going to be big. Marvel out there is getting a brand new ride that they're gonna start building pretty quickly.
I heard they're redoing a bunch of that Marvel land over there.
They're going to be
like really expanded on it. Which is smart. Marvel's a huge property they own, so why not utilize it? I mean, they can't do it over on the East Coast. You might as well take it to its max on the West Coast.
And when we were together today, I was talking with Gary, and we were talking about the fact that, east of the Mississippi, Disney is not allowed to touch any Marvel that's old. So they can't do the original characters and things like that. But they're allowed to do anything from a certain point on. So that's why Disney is releasing all the Marvels and making all the movies. I mean, they've got Hyperion coming out. They've got, oh my goodness. There's so many Marvel movies that they have just slated. That could just solve their issues forever with that stuff.
Right.
Toonland's getting an update. That's right. Thanks, Pat. Over in California, they're doing Mandalorian and Grogu meet and greet. That's going to be coming to Galaxy's Edge or Batu.
Yep.
Where it's going to be Mandalorian, and he's going to be having Grogu's going to be in his satchel. So
I'm shocked the new Mandalorian season has not come out yet. I thought they would have been released during like Disney Plus days, but it wasn't.
Yeah. Hopefully we'll see it soon because I miss Mando.
Yeah, Mando. It's been a long time.
Yeah.
Instead, we get Pinocchio, which I heard was I heard mixed reviews. I heard it was a cute movie, just kind of But I heard Tom Hanks did a great job. So,
well, look what happened with the Buzz Lightyear movie that they came out. That thing bombed, tanked, bombed, flopped. I mean, they were just like, yeah, let's just put it on Disney Plus. Let's just do something with it.
That one was a unique experiment, though. Like you're trying to tell a backstory of a specific character, and you're kind of changing the whole. Like everyone's like, Buzz Lightyear is Tim Allen. Well, that's the cartoon character of Buzz. This was supposed to be the real life Buzz, So like, but people just in their head, Tim Allen is Buzz, and it should have been Tim Allen. Like they weren't. I don't think that concept was understood by many.
For a lot of the movies that they came out with, that's what it was. You know what I mean?
Right.
And he played the character great, and everybody knew his voice, and it was just like a soothing thing to hear. To infinity, and in the way he said it. Now it changes when it's somebody else who says it, so it kind of loses the flavor. I get it. They're also doing what is it, like Space Hulk, or it's Hulk dressed up in like a spacesuit, but that's going to be a meet.
Space Hulk.
Yeah. I gotta find it. There was so many things I couldn't even put them up here.
Is it kind of like the lawyer She-Hulk?
pretty much. Yeah, I'm not really sure what's going on with that either. I keep seeing the cartoon for it, or the.
I mean, hardcore Marvel people hate it, but other announced, I've heard like good things about it. Like people generally like it for some reason.
There it is, World Breaker Hulk.
World Breaker Hulk. Okay.
But I guess, but that's going to be in Disneyland, obviously, because they can't touch Hulk over here. So, that's what I was going for. The deal with Universal having the rights to Marvel in the theme parks, I thought was like a 60-year contract or something like that. It's in perpetuity. So it's like it's forever
Right.
unless they and it was funny because Gary says unless they don't pay their bills, but that's like a thing. Like if they don't pay their bill, they're not going to be allowed to have it anymore and Disney can swoop in. But that's why they're going so hard on the West Coast.
I honestly think at some point Universal is going to hold Marvel as a bargaining chip to get some other property they want out of Disney.
Right. Well, I
mean, I'm curious to see how the Simpsons thing pans out too, because that Simpsons contract was not a long contract.
Right.
I know that Disney owns it.
Yep.
We'll see.
I can't see where Disney would put the Simpsons though.
No, either do I. But despite that they own it, I could see them holding it hostage. So.
Right. Well, if we're speaking about contracts coming up, then you got to start looking at Harry Potter too. Universal,
right, but that's another one though that they have first rights of renewal, so they could renew that one forever.
Sure. It's just weird that the contract was just so short.
Right. It was only like a 10-year contract or 15-year contract or something. But now, I mean, it had to have been. I know the one Universal Studios park, their contract ends next year, 2023.
Right. Yeah.
But they had to have renewed something or had something in the works because rumor has it Epic's getting a new Harry Potter area.
Wow, I didn't know that.
So I mean, it's supposed. I think it's based on the Fantastical Beasts movies.
Right. Yep.
So I mean, I don't know. But contrary to popular belief, Universal does not have a contract with J.K. Rowling, whatever hell her name is. Yeah. Their contract is with Warner Brothers. Right. And that is why all the parks are themed after the movies and not the books. The characters look like the movie characters, not the book characters. Right. And a lot of stuff that's in the parks are literally straight from the movies that aren't even included in the books. So no, J.K. Rowling is not the one that's making the decisions for Universal. Universal has full creative control. Obviously, they're going to do their best to not piss her off. But it's really Warner Brothers who they have the contract with. So,
when you think about how far she came and what she created, she lived in a car. She lived in a car writing stories. You know what I mean?
She went from nothing to everything to now mediocre because she just couldn't keep her mouth shut.
Right.
So,
which is a big thing in the in the business.
Right. Yeah. Just look at the Mandalorian chick, which I think that's part of the reason why the new season hasn't been released yet. She went from almost having the one that used to like, she's one of the main characters. She used to like, they were thinking about doing a spin-off series just on her character, and then she got fired.
Well,
because she just got too political.
Yeah, they got to try to keep politics out of it, and that's why everything's going down.
Which is kind of funny because Disney doesn't keep politics out of politics to a point, but
well, I think if we're going to talk about that, I would say that Walt Disney World in particular gets a lot more heat about the politics because of who's the governor of Florida. That's kind of my theory about that.
Right. Which is funny because all the other theme parks literally have the same thoughts as Disney, and they even say a lot of the same stuff as Disney, but they never get the heat or the press that Disney does. But it is what it is. But off politics, back to fun stuff.
Yeah, terrible.
I mean, so D23, like I said, people were expecting the is it fifth park announcement? Never happened. But they did have a lot. I mean, more than what I anticipated. So
there was so much. I mean, we were sitting there today watching baseball and football, and all of a sudden it was this and this and this is coming out, and they just announced this, and it's like, whoa, guys, hold on a second. What are you talking? Wait, hold on. The posts were coming like every 30 seconds.
Right.
I'm streaming.
Children.
The spider. He's not a huge one.
All right, kill it.
Jack killed it, but
spider alert. Jack killed the spider, and now the spider's out for revenge.
No one can find it in the house.
No, it's crawling now. It's crawling
Okay, we'll kill it.
They did, and now there's 40 million baby spiders crawling everywhere.
That's exactly what I need.
Welcome to the bug house.
Yeah.
Speaking of bug houses, this weekend I attended Universal Studios Horror Nights
Yes.
with the family and some friends.
Give us the lowdown.
It's my third year going. In my opinion, the best of the 3 years. It was literally amazing. The houses were phenomenal. There's a couple of them that are just like, but there were some that literally just like, they didn't scare me.
Oh.
But the set design and the emotions it evoked out of you was just insane. Like they had one called Dead Man's Pier.
Yeah, that's the one.
Winter Wharf or something. Yeah, and like literally walking in, it was the design was just so surreal and amazing. You felt like you were in an old fisherman town that was haunted, and like you literally walked in this place, and it kind of took place in the winter, and like you could legit see your breath is that cold, and then they like have water misting on you to really make you feel uncomfortable.
Right.
So you're already feeling vulnerable as it was, and then this, the actors coming out at you and stuff. It was just like probably the best house I've seen of all the years so far that I've been there. But then they have that like the iconic ones, like they had the Universal Monsters house, which again the theming was just amazing. Like you literally thought you were in Egypt in like the Egyptian ruins in like a pyramid. Right. That one was a little weird because it was they call it Monsters Collide. So between the mummies, they had random Draculas and Wolfmans popping out.
Right.
Which didn't make sense, but it was still themed really cool. They had Michael Myers' Halloween house, which was based on the original movie. So it was basically scenes from the movie as the sets that you walk through. So like you walk through the bedroom scene where Judith was on the bed dead with the tombstone behind her, and like all the iconic scenes from the actual movie itself were there. And then obviously Michael Myers was jumping around everywhere. Yeah. But so there's 10 total houses. One of them was called Bugs Eaten Alive. Mm-hmm. And it was essentially you went to this scientific lab type place where they invented a new bug spray where it smells good, it helps purify the air, but it kills bugs.
Okay.
And you go in, and the first thing we walk in was like, it looked like a 50s commercial. Like it's all like, this new bug spray is the number like revolutionary, blah, blah, blah. And it was like a girl in the 50s style dress with her hair in the curler, smiling, the 50s TV and like all like the 50 style signage and stuff. And it was like, oh, this is cool. And everything smelled like pine because it's like a pine tree smell, which is what they invented. And then the lights like flicker and like the girl screams. And then as you're walking in, it's just bugs everywhere. I mean, they're obviously fake, but there's like fake cockroaches and flies and ants and spiders and you name it. They're like just everywhere. And then as you go further and further, the bugs are getting bigger and bigger. And then at the end, there's a couple of people in costumes that are like giant maggots and giant cockroaches. And then you have to walk underneath this huge ass fake spider to leave. And so it wasn't really scary, but the concept was cool. It's kind of cheesy in a way.
It's creepy crawly though,
It is, because there's a lot of like you go down a lot of dark hallways and they have like wet string hanging from the ceiling. So then you're like getting hit in the face with like stuff and air cannons blowing at you. And so it kind of like I said, it messes with your senses, but I didn't care for the house too much, but it was definitely gross. Like it grosses you out. Like all the actors had like maggots coming out of their face. Okay. And it's just like, ugh.
Yeah, right.
A lot of holes in like the walls, like groups of holes to make you like. There's some phobia where like you don't like holes.
Okay.
Like I forget what it's called, but I don't know. But yeah, I mean it's pretty cool. But then there's 5 scare zones, so those are just like in the pathways in the normal park. Each one themed differently. There's like a scarecrow one, a cemetery, the pumpkin lore. And then there's 2 other ones. I forget what they were, but they're pretty cool. You just walk through there. They have a bunch of actors walking around scaring you. They have the chainsaw guys. The nice thing is if you get too scared or you kind of want to avoid it, you can walk on the sidewalks and they leave you alone on the sidewalks. So it's just if you walk in the
you're open game.
Right. If you walk down the street, game on. And then they have a show. They have 2 of them actually. One of them's like a water show they do in the middle of like the lake every hour. Projections, lights, funky stuff like that. Basically like the Bellagio show from Las Vegas, except in Universal.
Right.
And then they have this one show in the old Fear Factor Stadium where it's like kind of like a mixture of burlesque plus magic plus like freak show, because they had like the fire breathers and the sword spinners and all
They
that
still
stuff.
have the bleachers up in the Fear Factor, so everybody just goes in and sits down. Okay.
Yep, everything's that's all set up still and all that. The show was pretty amazing. Not the most kid friendly show, just because of what they're wearing and how they're dancing.
Yeah.
But it was a really neat show, and even some of the magic tricks, I was like, I know it's not real, but I was like, how the hell do they do that? Like, it just blew me away. But the whole night, like, fantastic. The food choices they have, so much food. They have pizza fries, like fries with pizza sauce and pepperoni and sausage on them. Amazing. They have like these hot pocket style things. It's like a dough with like it's like a big pizza pocket type thing, but it's in the shape of a skull.
Tell me what was in so they've got like a packaged ground beef. Like you go to the store and you buy, a pound or 2 pounds of ground beef.
So the one hallway, it's called the Mince Meat Market, and you go down. It's pretty cool, and they have these meat packages that you could buy, and you could buy like brains, hearts, like cuts of meat, but it was all Rice Krispie treats.
Oh my god!
So it was all dessert.
It looks like ground beef.
It does, but it's all dessert based. So there's like a Rice Krispie treat. There's some like jello-y something. I think that was the heart. There may have been some sort of like brownie something.
Okay.
But yeah, it was really cool the way they have it look, because you get in the styrofoam tray wrapped in plastic.
Yeah.
So it really does look like,
up in the corner.
Yeah. I mean, it's really gross looking, but phenomenal. They have this like this smoked Gouda mac and cheese with like some deep fried crispy pulled pork skewers on top.
Okay.
Tons of, like, you name it. Like, they have just so much food choices. And then the beverages were equally as delicious. Very unique drinks. I didn't think I would personally like them, because one of them had like rum, brandy with bitters, and like some juices. And I'm like, just the combination seemed really weird. One of them had like gin and stuff. And I'm like, no, but every one of them was delicious.
That's great.
Kind of tart, kind of sweet, but very tasty. And then they have a bunch of local beers that you can buy. There's like one that's like kind of like the Ecto Cooler. It was green, but it was like a sour ale. My wife tried it, said it was good, just extremely sour.
Yeah. I can't get with the sours, man. The sours just don't.
Yeah.
They just hurt my face.
Right.
It's like eating 70 sweet tarts. Oh, Pat wants to know how long you were there to get to the front of the line. Now, I assume he means the front of the line to get into.
I think he's talking about when we were the first one in line for Halloween.
Right.
So basically what you can do is the park is open normal hours up until 5 p.m. At 5 p.m. they kick everybody out of the park, and they kick you out very quickly. And then Halloween Horror Nights opens at 6:30. Okay. From the beginning, they've been letting people in the front gate at 6, but technically it starts at 6:30. So you have an option of either A, being an annual pass holder, or if you're not, you can pay $35 and get the Stay and Scream. That means you can stay inside one of 3 holding areas inside the park and wait there for Halloween Horror Nights to open. The thing is, if you're not inside Universal Studios by 5 o'clock, even if you buy Stay and Scream, they're not letting you in. Those doors are locked and they do not open until 6:30. Right. So we got there around 1:30 because we wanted to do a few rides before the park closed. And then we got to the Stay and Scream area about 3. Okay. We were standing by the Michael Myers Halloween line, but I wasn't sure if that's where we had to stay, because I knew we had to scan our tickets somewhere at some point to get into that area. Right. They were starting at 3 o'clock. They're starting to set up all the barricades and stuff for the Stay and Scream.
Yep.
So I asked one of the workers what we had to do, and he says, no, you need to. He goes, if you stay here, they're going to boot you out towards Jimmy Fallon, and then walk around the whole park to get to the Stay and Scream check-in area.
Gotcha.
He goes, you need to go down by Finnegan's and by the Italian restaurant, which is Louise, I think.
That's the place we had that late night.
Yeah. It's by Fast and Furious down that area. There's a big statue of like the dude that created NBC Universal. It's right there. They set up 2 giant white tents, and then that's where you scan your ticket, your annual pass, or your Halloween Horror Nights ticket to get into the Stay and Scream area. So we line up there about.
I know a lot of you are going this month or next month. Just to let you know where that area is, if you're going to do the Stay and Scream, when you walk into Universal Studios, go all the way to the end and then make a right. Yeah, it should be about halfway, 3/4 of the way down the street on the left-hand side. That's where he's talking about.
Yep.
Past
So it's in
Halloween.
between Transformers and Fast and Furious.
Yep.
So we got there about 3:15. They told us at 4 p.m. is when they start scanning tickets for Stay and Scream. It was actually about 3:50 that they finally said, "Okay, go ahead and start
Sure.
scanning."
How
So
many
they
people
scanned.
would you say? How many people would you say were there when they announced that, and you guys are standing in line?
There was one person ahead of us at 3:15. By the time they started scanning tickets, there was probably about 200 people behind us.
Okay.
So you want to get there around
That was just one of the holding areas.
One of three, correct?
Right.
And each holding area is the holding area for like 3 or 4 haunted houses.
Okay.
So you basically have to know what house you want to go in first, and then you go to that. The other holding area is Central Park.
Okay.
And then there's the Simpsons Land is the holding area.
Okay.
So at 3:50, we got scanned in. We went right to the Halloween line. We were the first in line there, and we stood there until about 4:45.
Yep.
And I don't know if it's just because they were able to get everyone out so quickly, but at 4:45, they took us from the pre-line over to the actual line for the haunted house.
Okay.
So, which is all backstage. All the lines are backstage. There's
Sure.
big podiums that tell you where to go during like the actual horror nights, but so
Why
they
are
brought us
people
backstage.
walking around screaming at you, scaring the shit out of you.
Right. Yeah. So we get backstage, and we get to the front door at exactly 4:58 p.m. And 5:15, they let us in the first house, Halloween.
Great. Nice.
Mind you, keep in mind those front gates don't open until 6:30. So while
Right.
we were going through houses, everyone else was still locked outside.
Right.
We got done with Halloween. Each house only lasts 5 to 8 minutes at the most.
Yeah.
And it's truly a Congo line. When they open those
Right.
doors, you just keep walking.
There's no
No one,
stopping.
stopping between
Right.
groups. You just keep walking.
Yep.
It's still fine though. But so we got done that house. The other 2 houses we wanted weren't open quite yet because they don't all open that early. So then we went to the Coven, which opened at 5:30. Got on that one right away. And then as close as right about 6, we decided just to wait because we had some friends that were meeting us there, but they were locked outside. So I saw that they're opening the front gates around 6. I said, hey, why don't we just wait here for them? They got in about 6:10, 6:15. And then we just started dinner.
How many people would you say came through those? Were you like seeing the gate? Were you able to see it open?
Yeah.
And then how many people would you say were like coming in? Like thousands?
Thousands, 5 to 10,000 easily.
It's nuts.
Easily. Yeah.
Were people just like sprinting to try to get to houses and stuff like that? Or?
Walking very fast, but
Sure.
a lot of people too were like wanting to take pictures right away, and it kind of slowed down people getting in because one of the scare zones is right at the entrance,
Okay.
right by the minions. So like people are stopping to get pictures and stuff. It's like, no, just keep moving. Like there's plenty of time.
Right.
Scare zones, we didn't really even bother. Like we walked through them because you kind of have to, but we didn't bother looking at anything really during the day just because it's not as fun. Like there's no light effects on, there's no fog, there's no, it's just light,
Yeah.
So we got through pretty much 6 houses by 8:30.
Yeah.
I think. And then the last 4 took us till 1:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
So the wait lines went from the 10 minutes, 10 minutes, 10 minutes. Halloween instantly jumped to 75 minutes.
Okay.
And then all the others were 45 plus. The longest that we waited though was an hour and 25 minutes for the weekend.
Yeah.
Great house. It's super fun. Cool scenes. It's literally like you're walking through his music videos. If you know the Weeknd's music. It wasn't particularly scary at all, but it was good. I'm glad that we chose that as the one to actually wait in, only because they have the music blasting, they have strobe lights going and color lights, and it's you're literally, even though you're in line, it's like a big party. Everyone's singing. People were starting the wave. Someone started it must have been someone's birthday, because then all of a sudden the whole crowd was singing happy birthday to some random person. So it's just a really fun time. Like the hour and a half went by really quick.
Sure.
And it wasn't even been that long, but at some point there's about 20 minutes where we didn't move at all. And I saw on the app it said the house was delayed. So there had been some sort of difficulty they had inside.
Right.
Which I'm not surprised, because that house was very technologically advanced. A lot of big TV screens on the walls and projections and stuff like that. So even when we went through one screen, you could tell it was glitching and would like kind of stall a couple seconds.
Yep.
So we got through that, and then the last house of the night was the Dead Man's Pier, and I'm kind of glad we waited till the end for that. But by 1 a.m, every house was 15 minutes. Like we probably could have got through every single house from midnight to 2 a.m. when they closed.
Really?
Yeah.
Now, so all of the wait times are on the app then?
Yep. They're just like rides. They're all listed on the app. We did find we raced to, it was like Destruction or Descendants of Destruction. App said 15 minutes. Like, hey, let's go there. We get there and it was 30 minutes, so the app wasn't up to date. We get to the Bugs ride, the Bugs one. We're like, hey, let's quick do this before the show starts. We had a half hour before the show. Bugs said 10 minutes on the screen at the line.
Yeah.
15 minutes later, I asked one of the workers, I'm like, are we even close to the front? He goes, we have about 45 minutes to go. I'm like, the line said 10 minutes.
Right.
So I opened up the app said 60 minutes.
Gotcha.
So we left the line because there's no way we'd make the show. So we left the line, walked back to the show was, and then I looked again at the front and it said 60 minutes. So they must have changed it as soon as we walked in, which kind of made me mad so don't rely on the app too much because it is kind of glitchy, but it does give you a general idea what the wait times are.
So you'd say the stay and scream is worth it then?
100%.
Yeah,
you have to. If you want to get through every house, every scare zone, and the shows, you have to do stay and scream, and just expect to wait the 3 to 5. It's a quick 2 hours. There's once you get in the stay and scream area, they let you get food. There's some food and drinks stands set up and open, so you can like get stuff while you're waiting. They let you leave the line and go to the bathroom as long as someone in your group is there saving your spot.
Sure. So
I mean, it's not bad, and like I said, it's worth it. If we didn't stop to meet up with some friends, and we stopped about 3 times for food, we did 4 or 5 drink stops. So if we would have just went house, I probably could have had them all done by 9 o'clock at the latest.
Wow.
Right. And that was a Friday night. So, I mean, yeah, it's still pretty early in the season, but it was still pretty damn busy, but it's going to get busier.
Like on a scale of 1 to 10, obviously scariest being a 10, like the overall, like walking down the street, dealing with, the undead walking around and creatures and clowns and chainsaw people and stuff like that. Like, how scary would you say it is? Like, because you had your kids with you too.
I did. So my son who's 13 and my daughter is 9. I for us it's different, unique, only because I owned a haunted house for 8 years. So my kids are used to that. They literally from the day they were born, they grew up with bins of dead body parts and props and horror movies and stuff like that. They've seen it. They experienced it. So they don't really get scared with that stuff. Like they don't get nightmares when they watch horror movies. So I think we're kind of a bad judgment. I think like to me it's not scary at all. Like none of it's scary. I mean, it's fake people. They can't touch you at all. Like, I mean, it's creepy. I did jump quite a few times in the houses because, I mean, something pops out at you and you don't expect it. You're going to jump,
Yep.
So you get a lot of that. My 9-year-old, she was fine through all the houses. She was kind of nervous at first, but then she kind of got used to them and kind of was enjoying them. The scare zones didn't bother her until it got dark out because they don't have much light in the scare zones at all. It's when it gets dark, it's pretty dark in those. A lot of fog and a lot of creepy people walking around. So that she kind of didn't really care for. So by the end of the night, we were walking on the sidewalk with her just to kind of avoid the scare zones.
Sure.
But I read comments online for some people, and like I kind of roll my eyes because they make it seem like it's like the most horrifying, scary thing in the world, and it's truly not.
Right.
But if you're not used to horror and like Halloween movies, it could be pretty intimidating and pretty scary. So it is rated PG-13.
Okay.
So just keep that in mind. Like I said, the show, we did bring our kids to it. It's nothing they've probably never seen on TikTok and YouTube already, but you definitely get weird looks from other adults that are staring at you like you're bringing kids to this. But I mean, all our kids enjoyed it. They had a good time with the show. I mean, like I said, there's a lot of magic and stuff, so it's pretty cool. A lot of like fire going on and stuff. But they both want to go back this year, which it's not going to happen. It's not paying $80 a ticket for them to go back.
Right.
I'll be going back the last Wednesday in September with my buddy Josh. So hopefully people, Nate, maybe. Yeah, if you're the premium pass holder for Universal, you get one free Halloween Horror Nights ticket.
Right. Otherwise, it's $80 plus the 35 for the stands.
It's actually more expensive. We just get a discount with our pass, so it brings it down to like $80 for us. But keep in mind, your free ticket can only be used through October 1st. There's no dates in October that you can use your free ticket. So if you don't use it that Wednesday, you'd have to go that Thursday or Friday, and then it's done. You won't be able to use your free tickets anymore. So, but no, it's like I said, it's a great time. It's fun. It is a long day, long night. But if you go expecting that,
1 to 1, I mean, you were there for almost 12 hours solid, probably.
Right. But it went by so fast, and like I said, everyone in the group left at midnight. So just me and my son and his friend that stayed till 2 in the morning, because we want to get the last 3 houses done that we missed.
Sure.
And I'm glad we did, because they were probably my 2 out of the 3 were my 2 top favorite houses.
Gotcha.
That was the Dead Man's Pier and the Universal Monsters Collide.
Okay.
So, but these houses, like I said, they may not be scary, but the set designs in every single house is just astronomically amazing. Like the movie ones, you feel like you're in the movie, and the other ones, it's like they take you to a different place and you kind of forget where you are.
Yeah.
So
no, I got to see this. I got to see the Fisherman Village. I'm so stoked to see that after everything you told me about it. Just sounds like an amazing room. And
like I told my wife, next year I think we might do 2 things, and it's expensive. Don't get me wrong, but we are probably going to buy, even though we get a free pass, we're probably going to buy I forget what it's called, something Fear, where it's good the whole season. Like you can go every night if you want to.
Sure.
And then we'll probably buy the Express Pass next time.
Right.
Express Pass depends on what day you go. Like that Friday, it was 130. And I've seen it get up to 180 per person. And that's in addition to your tickets. You have to have the ticket and pay that. But I said one of the nights when we go, probably the first night, we'll probably get the Express, only because if you have that, you don't wait longer than 20 minutes for any house.
Right.
Like you get in really quick. So, yeah, that was the only bad part for my daughter. It's just a lot of waiting, and she didn't like that. But there was another house called the Blumhouse, which is a horror movie production company. So the house was based on 2 of their movies, Freaky, which has Vince Vaughn, where like a serial killer and a high school girl like change bodies.
Yep.
And then the back half of the house was the movie Black Phone, which is my daughter's favorite movie right now.
Yep.
So the nice part was when we got there, the adults just got beers, and you can't bring any drinks to the houses.
Sure.
So
you need to be throwing those at people trying to scare you.
Right. The kids were all antsy and wanted to go through. So I asked my wife and our friends, like, do you guys mind if I bring the kids through? It's only a 10-minute wait right now. And then when we're done, you guys should be done with the beers and we can all go again together. And they're like, yeah, sure. And my daughter is thrilled because that was her favorite house. And it's like you were going through the movie. Like I've seen the movie, so like every scene, I'm like, oh, I remember this scene. And it's like you were inside. So it's kind of creepy how that works. But
I saw that Freaky movie, and I was just like, Vince Vaughn is in it? Like, what?
It's more of a comedy.
Yeah, it's like a
weird
comedy. Yeah, it's like
right. But you should really watch Black Phone before we go, because like I said, the house won't make any sense if you've never seen the movie.
Right.
But it's still cool.
Yeah.
I actually think, Kimmy, are you watching Black Phone? Yeah, she's watching it right now.
Other Halloween things that are going on. Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party is now officially sold out through the end of the season. So if you were planning on going down to Disney and trying to get into Not So Scary, every single night is now sold out. But it's select nights. So is Halloween Horror Nights. They don't, it's not just an every night kind of a thing.
Right.
But yeah, that's definitely sold out for the rest of the season.
Yep. Horror Nights, you can still get tickets, but they do sell out. The very first weekend, they sold out. So when they do sell out, though, the nice thing is pass holders can still go, even though it's. Right. And if you had the Freak Fear Pass, you can still go too. It just means they don't sell any individual tickets for that night anymore. So
yeah, no, I just hooked up a couple of people with October 5th, and I mean, crazy, but it was only $78 a person, and they're not pass holders. They're just coming down here on vacation and stuff like that. So they were stoked, because you go through and you start looking at some of the other prices, and it's all over the board. It just so happened that they're coming down that week. You know what I mean? So, and neither of them knew about it. neither of the people that I took care of knew that it was even a thing. I was like, you got to go to Halloween Horror Nights if you come down to Universal. You're gonna be here
Right.
for a week. Do it. And they were like, what is it? And I was like, it scare the shit out of you. Like it's a scary thing. Haunted houses, kind of a thing. People running around, chainsaws, clowns flipping out, stuff like that. So
Yep.
I'm sure they'll enjoy it.
If you want, so if you want to experience something scary with your family, and you don't want to go quite Disney-ish because that's too kiddish and too like, haha, but you don't want to go the full force of Universal Horror Nights, there is SeaWorld's Howl of Scream.
Howl of Scream,
It's on the same page as Universal, where it's more not geared towards kids. But the one thing that SeaWorld does that Universal doesn't is you can pay $15 and buy a light up necklace with signals for the actors to not scare you. They will leave you alone.
Which I think
Universal,
is a great
you're
idea.
just screwed.
Yeah,
it's a great idea.
I think it's a great idea, especially for kids that, if
Right.
I was to bring Finn or something like that. I mean, he's 5. He might
go
nuts. But if we have it, you can take it off. You can put it back on. You know what I mean? Depending on how they're feeling. No, I love that idea. It's
I like the idea too. I get why Universal doesn't do it because their philosophy is it's not a kids event. So you're going with the reason you're going is to get scared. So if you go, you're going to get scared.
It's
period.
called Horror Nights, like Mickey's not so scary Halloween party. You know what I mean? It's
right. So I've never been to the SeaWorld one. I heard great things about it. It's a lot smaller event. They only have 5 houses, like 2 scare zones, and 2 shows. But from what I read so far, the reviews. What's that?
Smaller park too.
Right.
But the other thing that's fun to do at SeaWorld, like we did last year, is you just go through the park and go trick or treating, and they they don't care. They're like candy, and it's like every 6 feet there's people standing.
You have to buy one of their bags, but I think the bag literally costs like $2.
It was $1.99.
Yeah. And then literally you get to go through as many times as you wanted to get as much candy as you wanted. So that was fun too.
One, and they were asking what kind of candy they liked. You know what I mean? I like Milky Way. Okay, Milky Way.
Right.
Instead of giving you Mary Jane's and all some weird candies and stuff like that.
Yeah, SeaWorld's fun because they let the kids dress up in costumes. I think Disney allows you to dress up to an extent.
Yep, no face.
Universal does not allow any costumes or face paint. So no.
Right.
You can kind of do the Disney bound thing where you dress up like a character. I've seen a lot of people with white and black striped clothes to signal Beetlejuice and stuff like that. Right. You just can't dress up you can't cosplay as a character.
Right.
But yeah. So if you get a chance, definitely check out Horror Nights. A+, great time. It's fun.
So aside from Halloween and everything that Disney decided to drop on everyone today about stuff. Oh, another thing about Disney, if you're going to Disneyland Tokyo, no more vlogging, blogging, any of that. It's gone. They've removed it, and they're actually thinking about coming over to the States to do that as well. So we'll see what happens with that. But some of the comments made sense because they just think that they're, some of the things that people were saying. Oh, Sean's going to freeze. There he is.
I'm trying to. So I'm a huge haunted house fun person. So in my patio, in Florida, I decorate my windows for all my neighbors, and they love it when I do this. So I'm gonna flip my camera to show you. I have 3 different windows. 2 of them are done. Oop, hang on. Let me see if I can't. Settings, camera, back.
There you go. Yep, that is Sean's lanai, literally.
So so this is
here today.
My Michael Myers house. It's kind of hard to see, but there's a bunch of pumpkins. There's Michael Myers in the window.
Yeah,
and it's all programmed. I don't know if you can hear the music or not, but the Halloween theme song is playing.
Yeah,
and a bunch of glow up pumpkins. And then next door to Michael, this one is not done yet, but we have good old Freddy Krueger.
There he is.
And then my last one here is Jason. And then you can't see here, but it's the Welcome to Crystal Lake sign.
Yep. Yeah, it's fun for parties. Going to Sean's house around Halloween or from September on. Is actually he loves to get it themed. He does tons of programming. I mean, he can program right now. I think what are you at 48 lights, and you're going up to 64. I think is the next. Oh, there he is.
I'm here. Yeah, I lost Wi-Fi for a second.
So we've covered Halloween, we covered Disney, we covered Universal, we told you about SeaWorld. What we didn't tell you about was where we were last night. So the Drunk Disney Dads, me, Sean, and Mike, all went out and met in downtown Orlando and went to Aku Aku last night. Just for everybody that does like to frequent Aku Aku, just so you know, kids are not allowed inside anymore. They do have like a bunch of chairs outside, like right next to where the Stardust Lounge stairs are. And places to hang out, but kids are no longer allowed inside Aku Aku. We didn't take any of our kids last night. None of us did. So, but we ended up having some drinks, and then Mike and Brittany got the baby, and then went and had garlic knots and pizza.
Drunk Disney Dad Mike was able to attend, which was awesome. Haven't seen him, so it was good to see him again. He will be back. We promise you, he will be back. He did have a baby. Was it 3 months old now?
No. How old's Lizard?
I think 3 months.
3.5? Yeah. Okay. 3.5 months. Yep.
Yeah. So he had a 3.5 month old. So he's busy with the baby a lot, and working a lot. So he's not been able to join us, but we will. Right. Yeah. He will be back at some point to talk with us, and we're gonna. He's an amazing, phenomenal bartender. He's actually, I don't know, can we say where he's working? I don't know. Maybe, probably not. We'll let him tell you.
Yeah.
But yeah, he is bartending, and we want him to come and share some of his bartending expertise.
You might find him on the monorail loop. That's about all I'm going to let go of that. Just until everything's all put into place. But yeah. And then Dave.
Speaking of, I want to build a house someday. When I build a house, I'm probably going to go with more. Remember that house I told you about I want to build?
Yeah.
It's the contemporary themed house.
Yeah.
Not the modern one, the contemporary one.
Right.
Yeah. That'd be fun if I could build that someday. But yeah, so Mike will be back. He'll be doing a lot of talking about bartending tips and a lot of mixology.
Once he gets back, we're going to start the drinks like we told you guys about. We just want to make sure we have everybody together and make drinks with us. And of course, we want to have you guys on with us. So if you guys like come up with a drink recipe or something like that, by all means, we'll have you on the show. You can 5 minutes, 25, whatever you want to do, and teach everybody here how to make different drinks, better drinks, whatever you want to do.
I learned a lot of stuff. Like I didn't realize like the shape of your ice cube can affect the taste of your drinks, and there's different ice cubes for different drinks, and what flavors mix.
You've got a nugget ice maker.
I do because I like crunchy ice, and my little pirate line boats I make do better on the crunchy ice.
They're awesome. You got to make. I think that's the one you got to make because I want to see the.
That's pretty cool.
That you make.
I just bought
a new fridge and it has craft ice. I've got the big round ice cubes now, so I can drink my rum proper instead of just.
So you put big balls in your drinks now?
I do. Big balls got to drink big balls, man. What do you want me to tell you?
Okay, ACDC.
Balling here.
Balling. So so Mike will be here. We want to do some more tiki shows soon. We haven't done one in a long time.
Yep.
We'll get some tiki on. We'll probably do some brackets. Again,
I think a bracket is definitely due, especially with football back, baseball playoffs and movies, because there's a ton of movies. That's the other thing. Go to D23, guys. Like, sign up for it. It's free, like I said. They'll show you the movie timeline of what's coming out. It's silly. I mean, there's like 20 Disney films coming out.
Speaking of Disney, when are you going to Epcot again, Nate?
I don't know. Why? What do you need? Oh, yeah. Yep.
I'm missing a magnet right here.
You know where they're doing that magnet release is at what's the store, right? Reflection.
We saw it. It's at Epcot.
Yeah, we walked by it. Yeah, that's what.
Yeah, I literally like when we went there, we saw them like, oh, there's the magnets. I got to remind Gary and Nate, and we're gonna grab one, and then we just never went back there that night.
Well, sure didn't. That's what happens when drunk Disney dads go out drinking.
True.
But yeah, we're gonna cut it a few minutes short. I have to get ready for my show that starts at 9 o'clock, and try to get the kids out of here so they don't watch blood and sex and magic. Wasn't that like an album or something? Blood, sugar.
Band name called it Blood, Sex, and Magic.
Yep. But yeah, we'll talk to you guys soon. We'll be on next Sunday. This Friday, stay tuned for random pop-ups. There's a special party or a theme party again that we're doing over at Sean's.
Yep.
And we'll go live for that, and then we'll see what else the weekend has to bring. But yeah, have a good week. Stay kind to each other. Tomorrow's Monday. It's not that bad. Have a coffee when you get home. Have a drink or
With shots.
With shots, yeah. Do shots.
Always
And,
shots.
We'll talk to you guys soon and do shots. Oh, Red Sox won today. Beat the Orioles. Haha.
Go SeaWorld.
Yeah, go SeaWorld.